Well, I'm sure it's not how he would be expecting us to be speaking or how he would want us to be speaking, but Chris Froome, not at the Tour de France, instead in a hotel room in Italy where Tirreno Adriatico has just begun. Chris, welcome. I hope your race goes well. Have you had a chance to watch the Tour de France? Have you been interested in what's going on?
Hi, Ned. Yeah, it certainly does feel quite strange to be at another bike race and giving feedback and my thoughts on Tour de France, where obviously I'd naturally see myself. So it is a bit of a strange situation. But I have to say I am enjoying watching this year's Tour de France. I think it's definitely shaping up to be a great race. And so far, it hasn't disappointed. There's been surprises. And I think this year being such a strange year in terms of the build-up to the Tour de France and riders' preparations, guys being stuck on turbo trainers for months, quarantine, lack of racing, all the rest of it. It's been so hard to predict people's form coming into the race.
British fans of the Tour de France might be a little bit disappointed that Adam Yates had to relinquish the yellow jersey on stage 9. But if he is able to ride to Paris, assuming the race continues, of course, and take those stage wins that he kind of came here for, then a spell in the yellow jersey and a stage or two would be an absolutely fantastic result for him, wouldn't it?
It would. And I think he came into the race saying that he wasn't even going to target the GC. He was just going to go for stage wins. So I think it's been a great bonus for him and for British fans to have a rider in the yellow jersey. And now that he's relinquished the yellow jersey, he can target stages, and he will be allowed a bit more freedom from the GC guys to go in the breaks, and it would be fantastic if he can pick up a couple stage wins along the way now as well.
Well, let's just pick away a little bit at the rider who's in the yellow jersey now. And he did go into the race as the big favourite, Primoz Roglic. But Chris, you raced against him at the Tour de l'Ain. You raced against him and his team at the Dauphiné. You've seen his first week at the Tour de France. Do you have any feelings of doubt on his behalf that he'll be able to maintain these levels?
I've got to be honest with you. I do have reservations about how long his dominance is going to last. We've seen him typically in Grand Tours tailing off towards the end, and if just looking at how he was racing Tour de l'Ain and the Dauphiné, he was absolutely pinging. He was unstoppable. No one could touch him, and it seems as if he's a little bit more human in the Tour. He's not just riding away from everyone. He's being clever, he's being smart, he's being a bit more conservative. Maybe that's a good thing, and maybe he will go the 3 weeks and surprise me. But part of me is sort of just holding my breath and waiting to see when that moment is where he's slowly going to run out of that momentum.
And if that happens, then it looks like the team leader of your team, essentially, Egan Bernal, is on a very different trajectory with his approach to where he's going to peak in this Tour de France.
I'd say so, and especially if you look at the way Egan came into the race, I think he's in good shape. He was ready, coming in off a bit of a niggle, bit of an injury with his back, but he certainly seems to be riding himself into this race. He's riding conservatively, smart. He hasn't sort of gone off on any big attacks yet, but looking at how he rode the Tour last year, he didn't look great on the first mountain stages in the Tour last year. He even lost a little bit of time earlier on in the race, but come week 3, he was fantastic. He was pinging. So I'm obviously quietly hoping that that's the same case this year, and we'll see him really find his legs as the race goes on.
Many of the headlines, I'm sure, will be centred around Tadej Pogacar in France, especially given the way that he raced yesterday and the day before, taking all that time back on the Pays-Roubaix. What do you know about him, Chris? Because he has just exploded onto the scene at the Vuelta last year and now at the Tour.
Yeah, incredibly impressive ride so far, and I think he's timed his preparation for the Tour perfectly. He came into the Dauphiné. A lot of people wrote him off there already, given that he wasn't really up there on GC, wasn't riding away from everyone in Dauphiné, but it seems as if that was the racing he needed to elevate him to the right level. And he just seems to be bouncing this first week in the Tour. I mean, he did lose time in the crosswinds a couple of days ago. Otherwise, he'd probably be in the yellow jersey right now. But in terms of physical condition, he looks spot on. He is just lighting the race up. And I mean, this kid's 21 years old. I mean, he's younger than Egan. He knows that he can go the length of 3 weeks. And so far in this race, it just looks like he's got a little bit more than other GC guys at the moment.
Chris Froome, who in 2020, this is the big one, the impossible question, but I'll put you on the spot. We've just finished 9 stages. Who is going to win the Tour de France?
It's such a hard one, Ned. Such a hard one. I mean, Roglic, he's to take time off him. I mean, he's got an advantage right now. To take time off him is going to be close to impossible. He's just going to stick to any guys in the top 5. He's going to follow them like glue now, and maybe even steal some more bonus seconds here and there. Pogačar seems to be hungrier than ever and a step ahead of the other GC guys. So, and Egan, I'd say. I mean, he's sitting in second place, and I think he's coming up. He's getting better and better as the race goes on. So, to choose one of those is impossible. I can't do it.
You can't do it. Go on, Chris. Give us one name.
I'm going to have to be loyal here and choose Egan.
All right, Chris. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll try and catch up with you, assuming that the next rest day happens. But in the meantime...
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Good luck on your race in Tirreno Adriatico, yeah?
Thank you. Thanks a lot.